We're now 5 minutes late, Kevin.
Good morning, everybody, and here I am with Mark Cameron for our update on what's going on the Bowls New Zealand Facebook. Apologies for being 4 3/4 minutes late, but we're here.
It was your fault, you were talking.
It was my fault, I'll take full blame for that, but we're back, and we're going to, this morning, so people know, we're going to go through a lot of the things that have been happening throughout the year. We're going to talk about the 1920 competition structure, etc., the ranking system, a restructure at Bowls New Zealand, the member levy model, the Bowls 3.5 through to 2021, centre visits in 2019, a review of the year or the summer, which is coming to a close, and the high performance of the Trans-Tasman, which is coming up, and our national calendar open day. And I'll just let you know about the event that we're covering, in fact, this weekend, at Royal Oak. So, Mark,
All in 12 minutes or less.
all in 11 3/4 minutes, something like that. So the competition structure survey, what's the...
So a little bit similar to last year, we did a survey end of last year. We got over 1,000 respondents talking about competition structure. So we're going to do a similar survey in probably in the next 4 weeks. Get it out to the members. Ask questions about Intercentre, Champ of Champs, Interclub Sevens. Bring that back on the agenda for a discussion. So we'll structure a survey. If there are any other things that people would like for us to ask, then flick an email to me or to Bowls New Zealand, and we'll see if we can incorporate that into the survey as well. But it's really important that we get feedback on some of the changes that we've made and some of the things we're looking to do going forward.
So the survey, does that go directly to the affiliated members? Does it go to the clubs? How does it get itself out to the members, so to speak?
It's a difficult one. So we definitely send it to the centres for forwarding on to the clubs, and we hope that the clubs forward on to their members. We know practically that's difficult. So what we'll also look to do is ensure that the survey's in Facebook. So they'll be able to click the link within Facebook,
right, and
click the link through the Bowls New Zealand website as well. And we hope that from with those two especially, that people then just share the survey amongst their network, amongst their Facebook friends group, etc., or their email friends.
So the really good thing about that is it's giving every participant, bowler, whatever, avenues whereby they can have a constructive input into the survey. And it's interesting. It's great that you mentioned that of the Interclub Sevens, which again was read to me just a couple of days ago, and is an ongoing subject, but it creates the opportunity for a good conversation with good feedback, and then things can be sort of put together after that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not the be all and end all. You can ask a question a million different ways and get a million different answers, kind of thing. So you have to be careful about how you structure questions and how much you rely on that feedback. But it's certainly a good guide. So one of the key questions we'll ask is do you think we should bring back a New Zealand Interclub title? That's the first question.
Yep.
Yes, no. And then if we did, what do you think about these scenarios in terms of what it looks like? So we're looking to use that survey as it'll be a key tool, but it won't be the be all and end all.
No, obviously it can't be. But all I'm saying out there to centres and clubs and the members, when this survey does come out to your club or your centre and is available online, we'll get them behind it, because the only way that we want to hear voices, we want to hear feedback, and this is an ideal vehicle to do so.
Yeah, I think so. There are other opportunities where I think further down the list we're going to talk about getting around the centres over the next couple of months. So we'll look to use those forums as an opportunity also to discuss where we've been and flag some ideas about where we're going. So and that's also useful, because then you can enter into this sort of dialogue back and forth, and you can't really achieve that in a survey. A survey is either yes or no.
Correct.
It'd be nice if the world was full of yes or no decisions, but they aren't.
So the next thing we're going to do is the ranking system. This is something new.
Yeah, we're really, really keen on this. So we've Bowls New Zealand. We've done a little bit of work on this over the summer in terms of a ranking system around our top bowlers around the country, and we'll look to present some numbers, which will be debated in terms of where players are ranked.
As we will know.
Yes, they will be. But that was the seed of the idea, which was to look at a ranking system for all bowlers in the country. The perfect example here is probably the golf's handicap system. But as we found, Martin and I in the last couple of weeks, we went and visited squash too, and learnt a lot more about their iSquash system, which is a ranking system whereby, you might have a ranking of D1 and I'm a D2 squash player.
The squash have always had a collective ranking, really, hasn't it been? A grade ranking, I suppose you'd call it.
And here's the beauty of the squash system is that if you're a squash player, a member of a squash club, you want to be in the membership database so you can have your ranking. So you want to know whether you're a D1 or a C2 or whatever it might be. And that's the way to drive and get people interested in being in databases. If I just say to you, Kevin, I want you to join the Bowls New Zealand database, you'll be nice and do it, but really you're going, well, what's the benefit?
Correct.
But if I was to say to you, Kevin, in the database that you join, we will rank you in terms of your singles, pairs, triples and fours play at club level, at regional level, at national level, and we will enable, what we can then do is we can actually pick up, we can create a ranking system whereby we can give meaning to roll-up bowls.
Yes.
And I kind of explained that to you before, and hopefully I get the gist of it now, is that if you and I play a game of singles bowl on a Wednesday afternoon, you're ranked 5 in the club and I'm ranked number 15, and then I beat you, there are some ranking points available to that. And it may not sound much, but I suspect that around the country, when you go and put up a listing in the club on the club notice board that says, here are all the bowlers and whether they're ranked pairs, singles, triples, fours, whether they're ranked regionally and whether they're ranked nationally, I think there's some merit in that idea.
Well, you know and I both know that we use the word roll-up as it's determined, but with some of the clubs around New Zealand, we see the numbers that turn up on a regular basis.
Yep.
And of course, there's some competitive aspect to that as well, isn't there?
Yep.
And it just brings a wee bit more sort of, I suppose you could say the same people go out and play golf and they play to a handicap and there's a haggle, isn't there? And there's competitive right throughout, isn't it?
And there's meaning to those golf games because they hand their card in.
Correct.
And that card has got that score which will impact on their ranking, or their handicap in this case. Same with squash. So if you and I were to play a game of squash on a Wednesday night, effectively a roll-up game, just a social game, there are ranking points available to that. So we're really keen to embark on that. It's probably a 3-year project, this sort of stuff, but I think it'll be really interesting to see how it's grabbed by the bowls community in terms of giving some meaning, some additional meaning to not only to casual bowls but to tournament bowls as well.
Correct. And I was just going to quickly say about the casual bowls, not necessarily the Bowls 3-5, casual bowls, business house bowls, whatever. It also gives a strong collection point, doesn't it?
Yeah, so the idea would be that, and rather simplistically, if I played you in a game of singles or pairs and as a roll-up, that might only be worth 1 point. But if I played you in the club champs, that might be worth 10 points for each win that I had. If I played you in the centre champs singles, that might be worth 50 points for a win. And if I played in the nationals, it might be worth 100 points. So what we're saying is that the higher up, the more wins you get at national, centre, club level, the more ranking points you actually get as well.
I know they've got a ranking system, for example, in Bowls Australia, and I would question their ranking system.
Yep.
Because it's really dependent upon, it would appear to me, the chosen event, so to speak, that you play.
Oh, it is. It's only a ranking system for the elite bowlers, effectively.
It's not a collective, is
No.
it? It's I've questioned it when I've looked at it. That's all. So
there's a lot of work to do there, but it's quite exciting, and I think it will end up being one of our key projects going forward is to build a ranking system that really gives some meaning to actually being a member of a database, of a system for the club, for the centre, for the
I just think it creates
national body.
For everybody a bit of a competitive nature as well. So. Also, we're just going through the process of a Bowls New Zealand restructure, which is happened, or what's...
happened. Happened now. Appreciate that when you start talking employment, it's a sensitive area, and we do need to show respect. But we've had a bit of a restructure. Effectively, our CDO network, our Community Development Officer network, has been disestablished. And it's been replaced with 3 roles. and those roles are to drive key initiatives within our community. So 4 CDOs looking after 500 bowling clubs was a huge ask. What we've done is we've retreated a little bit on that and said, okay, a better use of our money would be, let's employ someone who's going to have it as one of their major objectives to install this ranking system, for example. Or let's have someone employed who's going to really be a wealth of knowledge for the country around artificial greens and covered greens. So employing people to drive initiatives as opposed to where we have been, which has been really supporting clubs with their day-to-day.
So is it fair to say then, and I think we know that due to the formats what we've got now via email and website and Facebook and all sorts of things, there is an open communication channel to everybody, really, isn't there, via it comes into Bowls New Zealand. So it doesn't always have to be picking the phone up and talking about, our mixed peers or whatever. We're moving past that, really, aren't we, into specific targets, the likes of, we know, for example, of the numbers of complexes that are going to be built of a covered-in type, so to speak. And, and there's a lot of money involved in those, and there's and there's grants and there's all sorts of things, and of course that brings the integration of other sporting codes or sporting clubs as well into some of these facilities as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, we need to drive initiatives that make a difference to our sport. So last year we drove the Bowls 3-5 initiative, and that's making a difference to our game. We need to continue to think like that. Let's drive initiatives to grow our sport. We still need to be accessible. So we need to remain accessible to our clubs and to our centres. But at the same time, we can't lose sight that if we're to grow our sport, we actually do need to focus on certain innovations, certain initiatives to do that.
I agree, absolutely. So I presume there'll be a release goes out shortly which says who does what and where.
You haven't been paying attention to our website in the last week, have you, Kevin? There's one on the website. Oh, is it on the website?
It's being released afterwards.
Okay, it's been released, meaning it hasn't been. So it's certainly gone out to all the centres.
Right, okay.
The centres had that last week, so we'll look to put up
so it'll be out in the public domain later on today, so to speak.
Yeah,
right.
You were right, Kevin. I was wrong.
we were both right, so to speak. Right.
All right, that'll do.
So we're talking about the member levy model, and I know this is a subject which has been addressed before. I think it's a positive thing, to be fair.
Yep.
And I was at the Bowls New Zealand annual meeting last year where the
got close.
It got close. It definitely did, and the centres really, from my recollection, really just wanted more feedback on how it can all work, and that's where we're moving towards, isn't it?
Yeah, the intent, I think just about all brought into the intent, and the intent was to move the levy, to shift it from being a levy for a member to being a levy to the bowling club. That was the intent. And I think it was largely brought into what we didn't get right was how we would levy a club fairly, recognising that there's some very small clubs and some very big clubs in this country, and we tried a system where we went based on the number of greens, which was pretty simplistic, but it was a start. It didn't work. It worked for about 60% of people, I'd say. It didn't work for others. So we want to carry on down this path, which is to move the levy responsibility from the member to the club. Acknowledging too that membership within clubs these days looks, there's full playing members and there's business house members and there's social members and there's casuals and all A's and B's.
We all know, and look, please, those out there watching, don't be offended by this. I've been involved in centre administration. We all know that let's call it the levy number.
Don't tell me this. Don't. I'm sure it's 100% accurate, Kevin. Is that where you're heading?
Well, it's been cumbersome.
Okay.
And it's also just makes itself open for, got too many vagrancies in it.
So we'll look to promote something with the board's support in the next couple of months. We'll look to support to promote out there effectively trying to fix a levy for a few years in some shape or form. And then, so we're getting into that psyche that this is a club levy, not a member levy, and then we'll move
Now,
forward.
can I ask them, because I think this is a very important part, and again, it's always been a point of debate before around affiliation fees, levies, however you want to describe it. And I think it's an opportune time that the topic be on the table and can be told to people out there. Because Bowls New Zealand can now actually say, right, this is actually what we are delivering to the sport in the way of resources, events, communication, a whole raft of things.
Oh yeah, and we always could. It's a bit easier when you're showing innovation and that sort of stuff. It's a little, and when you're just saying, the normal routine, it's hard to get anyone excited about that.
Correct.
So by actually saying that we're doing stuff, we're putting on TV, that we're doing our Facebooks, we're doing consultations, or helping around facilities and whatever it might be. That makes it a lot easier.
And I think also from a club point of view, you've also given clubs the opportunity, driven by Bowls New Zealand, some other what I would call balance sheet opportunities and savings with the likes of fertiliser sprays and all that sort of thing, clubhouse insurances, all those sorts of things are ways of how Bowls New Zealand is delivering to the club a balance sheet saving, so to speak, isn't it? And that's all a plus.
We'll hit the club insurance one because it's the easiest one to do. Is that we had 100 clubs, 100 bowling clubs have now signed up to the Apex insurance scheme, which is fantastic. The average savings for those clubs is $1,081. $1,081 each of those clubs has saved on average, which is 19% of their previous insurance bill. That's $1,000. Well, that's by and large that's the average levy that most clubs are paying to Bowls New Zealand.
Absolutely.
And we've saved that in a year. And I think that Apex, that insurance scheme will probably get better as well. The more clubs that sign up, I think that $1,081 will become $1,200 or $1,500 or whatever it might do.
And then, as you rightly say, that goes to the balance sheet and helps to contribute in other ways, doesn't it? So,
well, let's talk quickly. I know we said 12 minutes or less, but we have just thankfully, we're very appreciative. We just re-signed with Prebble Seeds. So this year, in the past year, the Greenkeepers Association has generated somewhere around $40,000. Which is going to helping greenkeeping in this country.
Fantastic.
$40,000 that, in theory, the clubs and the members don't have to support. So I think that's another little win where we're getting the most out of our clubs without impacting on the clubs.
And going back directly to the clubs.
Yeah.
Well, to all you clubs out there watching this, I think these are a couple of initiatives, along with the member levy model, is something that I would say that you got to jump on board, because again I just think it's another positive initiative that's coming out of Bowls New Zealand. So now Bowls 3.5 through to 2021. What have we got?
Good. I should get rid of that pen because I've been clicking it all the way through this thing. Bowls 3.5. So we have re-signed with Sky Sport for 3 years, which is fantastic. We're going to do a release later today. Looking over there, yes, we are. We haven't done one yet. We're going to do a release later today, which is going to promote 8 clubs, not 6. 8 weeks, not 6. 3 nights per week, so Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday night of Bowls 3.5. We're going to drop it down to 2 games per night, so we're not going to be as rushed. So instead of playing 7 till 10, we're going to go 7 to 9:30, which means it's going to give us a little bit more time to move bowls up and down ends and things like that, and to tell a little bit of story around it. So we're really, really pleased with the growth of it, with Sky Sports investment in our product for the better. And I think it's off the back of year one where the ratings were really good. The product was good. It can be a lot better, and we've got a few, almost wait and see what happens this year. But we've got a few ideas as to how we can improve that product. But it's just fantastic because it's really important that we have television, that we are in the national media space. Many a sport, 8 weeks, 3 nights per week. There's a lot of sports out there crying out for that sort of level of coverage.
Well, if you were to take this year, Mark, as a case in point, if we took the Bowls 3.5 at New Lynn and all of the national events which have been live streamed, the hours of, let's say, visual media that the sport has had, from secondary school level all the way through to the national level, it's certainly been a big upward jump, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think the biggest jump though is the communication to our bowls community.
Absolutely.
So the website, the stories that we're telling about people in clubs, the Facebook, the streaming, etc. That's our big jump in the past 12 months. We've got another big jump to make though. If we really want to be, back in the spotlight, we need to get those same stories, those same events somehow elevated so that they appear on stuff.co.nz pages or the Herald pages or the local newspapers or on television news. So we've still got a lot of work to go to elevate our story above the bowls community to the national.
So, but with the Bowls 3-5 though, we've also seen with that, like we're going to Wellington in a few weeks' time, where we've got the finals of the Intercentre, of which we had how many centres lined up in the bowl?
153 clubs, I think it was.
Which has come down to 4. Is that correct?
Come down to 4. Can you name the Auckland?
Okay, yeah. I've already sent you a personal note about the Riverhead combination who's made their way through, but I think.
And can I just confirm that I'm not playing for Riverhead? So whilst my conflict of interest is as a member, yes, but.
Have you spoken to selectors about that at Riverhead, about your non-selection?
I'm reasonably comfortable that they've made the right decision.
Right, so that's fine, he's happy. But I think I think there's still one position yet to be found, is that right?
Yeah, so Riverhead, Alexandra down there in central Otago, Hinuera out of the Waikato, and at the moment we're just waiting for the result of Blenheim versus Takaro, Palmerston North. So we're down to 5 at the moment, but it'll be down to 4 on the 28th.
The really thing that I really like about that is that we're seeing the clubs like, the Hinueras and the Waikatos, the Alexandras, the Riverheads, and either Blenheim or Takaro, the Manawatu coming through. Isn't it great to see what would say some of our smaller rural clubs who are making their way through to this inaugural national final, and of course have got the chance to be on the televised event next year?
Oh yeah, exactly right. I mean, one of those 5 clubs will be on the televised league later in the year, which I think is fantastic. It's good. It's not, whilst it's nice to have the big clubs, big centres. We've already got a bit of that with the Point Chevs and the Royal Oaks and the likes. One of these smaller centres, great storyline.
Oh, and look, I'm imagining that from what I've seen on Facebook, that weekend in Wellington of the finals playoffs, I think there's going to be some pretty good tribal local support that makes its way through down to Nainai for that weekend. I'm sure there will be. And because we're live streaming the semi-finals, finals of that Bowls 3-5 from Nainai. And so all of that will be live. So Bowls 3-5 is certainly now very, very much on the calendar, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll answer a question I think here about. So we're going to have 2 more spots available this year. So we're going from 6 to 8.
Correct. Yes, correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at the moment, assuming that the 5 clubs that were in it last year want to come back, then the top 5, then they'll be back in. Woodend, as you know, have been relegated. So the winner of the National Interclub next on Sunday the 28th will become the 6th place side. We'll then look at the geographic makeup of those 6 teams and determine where potentially we're looking for expressions of interest for the 7th and 8th team. So we've got that work to do. We've got some plans around 7 and 8 team, but we just want to find out what's happened. Who's won the Interclub first.
Yes.
And then we'll go from there.
So. Yeah, it'll be a very strong geographic spread, won't it? Yeah, in it next year.
Oh, and that's really important. The last thing we want is this to be Auckland centric, just because the venue's in Auckland, which it needs to be for production costs and with Sky.
Yeah.
We don't want this to be an Auckland centric Auckland club competition. It needs to be around the country.
So there you are, and there's a brainwave that came about 18 months ago. I suppose the thinking started about it. It got delivered, came to TV. It's now been extended on a 3-year contract. We're about to have our first Bowls 3-5 Interclub finals, and of course, winner of that going into the event. And we've seen it being played at Business House, so all sorts of levels right around the country. So it's been a winner.
Oh, and the good thing is for us now, that's almost parked. It's like, okay, we're going to deliver this. Now, what's next? What's the next competition that we look to produce for TV, for the media, for the national media to consume? So great, Bowls 3-5, and they're there for 3 years, but what else are we going to do?
So I see our next topic is, and well done to all those who have been involved in getting Bowls 3-5 out there to the public, etc. I think it's been a great success. So the centre visits coming up throughout this year. You're going to hit the road, obviously.
Yeah, hitting the road again. May, June, beginning of July. I'll flick out an email the next couple of days to the centres, advising them that I'm keen to get out and about. A bit similar to last year. Is just here's a bunch of topics. Let's have a chat about them. Answer any questions. Get feedback. See where the conversation goes as we go around the country. So I'm keen to do that, or will be doing that, over to the centres as to how they wish to partake or wish to participate, or whether they're interested in it or not. You never quite know. We do a lot of these sessions, so maybe that's enough for people.
Well, I think the interest has actually been pretty strongly rekindled, from my trips around the countryside this year, and bowlers that I talk to. I hope you boys way down the South Island are listening, who've always got some commentary to make to me.
I'm starting down the bottom of the South Island this year and working my way up. As a different way
no,
of approaching things.
look, I'm of the opinion, Mark, that we've got a pretty strong buy-in now because of all the things that are going on. And I think it's good.
Oh, look, I think these centre visits, it's about face-to-face, though. I think we can have this conversation, we can do surveys, we can have email exchanges, but the best feedback that I can get and Bowls New Zealand can get is this face-to-face feedback.
Absolutely.
And that's where these centre visits, if in an ideal world I'd visit all 500 bowling clubs. Well, that can't happen. But if we visit 27 centres and we invite anyone, members, club officials, centre officials to that what we'll call a workshop or whatever we call the thing, then we're going to get some real feedback and from the grassroots.
So we're coming to the end of the 2018-19 season. What's your sort of overview of what's happened to date, our events, and how things have gone for Bowls New Zealand, and
Step forward, clearly, for our sport. Tried a few things, got a few things wrong. Don't mind saying that. We don't get it all right. But what's the saying? 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Whatever that number might be, 33 forward and 5 back or whatever it might be. But I think we've definitely gone forward. And I sincerely say this. It's there are people within the Bowls community who are delivering change, not Bowls New Zealand. It's not at the centre level either. It's at the club level.
Certainly is. And
I can't remember the club. Helen might. I don't know if Helen can overhear me, but there was a club in Nelson, just out of Nelson, around about 20 members a year ago. 55 first-year members this year.
Amazing.
It's a story we hadn't even heard about.
Well done to whoever that club is.
The club starts with R. I'm in danger of
Rewalker.
Let's hope it is.
I just got the thumbs up.
Okay.
Well, so well done to Rewalker and.
So there are people. It's not us. That's my point here. I think we need to show leadership, and we need to talk about change and promote change. But there are people within the Bowls community who are affecting and who are creating the change.
The point is, Mark, those are the stories which we are getting out there, which weren't getting out there before.
Yeah.
Which can get out there to say, a pat on the back to Rewalker, and because what have they done? How did this come about?
I know.
They must have done something. So
they'll be getting a call from Rob Davis in the next week.
There's a story,
yeah.
the story in it alone, isn't there, of how have they done that? So, so that's a big plus. And I think that you're right, because in my travels around the countryside, I think there's a lot of clubs out there now who are, negativity's been put aside and they can see the pluses. And I've seen more pluses certainly this year than negatives, that's for sure.
Yeah. Again, we don't get everything right, No one does.
Well, we went through. I know Helen always tells me this. We went through a rain-interrupted nationals, didn't we? In both the singles, pairs, and fours. So we went through no rain, of course, as well in the inter-centre. That all went through. So everything's gone pretty well in that regard, hasn't it? Entries were up.
Entries are up, but again, we tried some things. I'll say the split nationals worked, but I think the 21 ends 3 games a day at national fours didn't work. Great, let's learn from these things.
And that's as you rightly say. you know, there's a learning thing, and you're going to get the survey back from everybody and sit down, hash it out. And now we're not far away, of course. The High Performance New Zealand side's been selected to go to the Asia Pacific.
Yes.
In Australia.
And the draw's been done as well, yes.
Yeah, I believe the draw's been done. And so the Trans Tasman coming up as well. And so what else is going on in that space?
Well, it's a busy, for Koshak, Peter, Ballas and the team, it's a really busy 12, 15 months. So we go, our Blackjacks selected go from Asia Pacifics to the Trans Tasman in November, Multi-Nations, another Trans Tasman, some other sort of build up, and then the World Champs in June of next year. And that's a big 12 months of bowls.
Big calendar.
And a big commitment on the part of these athletes as well to actually be a part of this. So it's really it is leading up to the World Champs in June of next year, but you know we want runs on the boards, you know, as we play in these multi-nations and Asia Pacifics and Trans Tasmans, etc.
Well, it's good to see. I know that there's a number of our high performance players who are playing in the Australian Open.
Yes.
And great to see. I know that Joe Edwards has got a team together from the high performance group, and I think Ellie Forsyth has as well, and there's a lot of others which are going over. And of course, we had 8 New Zealanders represented just recently in the the inaugural UBC. There was 8 New Zealanders in that, and of course the Gary Lawson club, the Wellington side, they got beat in the semi-finals, and I think Andrew,
what are they called? The Hornets.
The Wellington Hornets.
That's
yeah.
right. Yes.
And Andrew Kelly, I think he finished third in the toucher league, so to speak.
Yes.
So that he was right up there with the best. So. You know, positive signs, and we've got a number of our high performance players as well who are playing at Broadbeach in the Blue Opal singles, which before the Australian Open, in the Blue Diamond and the pairs as well, which all at Broadbeach. So, you know,
It doesn't stop, does it, Kevin?
No, it doesn't stop. And
No.
there's these our leading players now, our high performance squad, are going into not really winter, they're going into another season. Really, start coming. Really June, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why we've set up a high performance squad of 19 athletes, I think it is, and then there's another 22, 23 in that talent development, because it's a huge commitment on the part of these athletes. So having a strong, you know, a very strong and a few more in the number helps.
I think it also gives the opportunity as well for the selection panel to be able to, with these events, to say, well, look, we still want to look at a couple of more players, or we want to make a couple of... And for all we know, there may well be, because it's a big calendar, certain players through work commitments may not be available for the whole program. It's understandable. But it does also give the selectors an opportunity to use that high performance squad if they so wish to maximise the opportunities going forward to the World Bowls, isn't it? Which is a plus.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, you know, with so many events, you'd like to think that, you know, it won't just be the 10 that we see at the Asia Pacifics that'll play in other events leading into the World Champs. I'm sure there'll be a mix and mingling there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But that's for others to decide.
It is.
Thankfully.
and it won't, more than likely won't involve at this stage anyone from the Riverhead Bowls 3-5 side, would you think?
I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. We shall see.
So
We'll see what our recruitment drive is like next year, next summer.
Who you buy.
Yeah.
So the national calendar, I see we're going to have.
No, it's a discussion, I think, at this stage. Is a few sports have looked at the idea of having like a national open day. So, you know, September 1 or 3rd or whatever it might be, every bowling club in the country is open to new members and to an open day. And I'm not saying we're going to do this, I'm just saying that it's one of those things that I'll look to flag in discussions over the next 6 to 12 months and see whether there's an appetite for that. It'd be nice if we could, you know, for all that marketing, all that advertising that we currently do to try and get new members, and we were to drive it into one day early September around the country. I think it'd have a bit of appeal.
Yeah, it's good for publicity as well.
Yeah, and then the discussion from there is okay, do we start then looking at the national calendar and going, right, should we have a club finals day built into the national calendar? So all club champs, for singles, pairs, fours or whatever it might be, are going to be on this day around the country.
Well,
I don't know, it's worth a discussion.
It's a dialogue, isn't it?
It's a dialogue.
Yeah,
Yep,
it is.
yep. Now I think there'll be reasons why in certain areas it can't happen, but it'd be nice to start positioning, you know, and start thinking about the structure a little bit more. We've started it with the Summer of Bowls calendar, you know, building
And people are
infrastructure.
using that too. Yeah, they're using that word,
yeah.
that phrase. It's been adopted. So
Yeah, it has, and I think just looking down and looking at how we can standardise some of the stuff that we're doing, I think will be nice, whilst still allowing for the the special tournaments or the other events that can happen.
So just before we finish, I'm totally right that I mentioned the passing last week of Malcolm Kidd, because Malcolm Kidd was president and chairman of Bowls New Zealand and played out of the Waikato and in the Bay of Plenty, and Malcolm is one of the main drivers of the amalgamation of the New Zealand men and New Zealand women to form the body.
Yeah, yeah.
And a very methodical man was Malcolm, and also in the umpiring field as well, and events, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of all bowlers and of Bowls New Zealand, who I know have made a comment about it, on the passing of Malcolm Kidd. Who I worked with Malcolm in a couple of major events, and he hasn't been the best of health of recent times, but to everybody out there, our condolences go out there to the passing of Malcolm Kidd from our
just
bowlers fraternity.
And just a sincere thanks for his contribution to our game.
He did a tremendous amount, and the sport is now reaping the rewards on an amalgamated body of the work which Malcolm did in those days prior to amalgamation of Bengal about.
There's a story on our website about Malcolm, and we'd actually had it written 2 weeks prior. So there's a nice story about how some of his trials and tribulations going through that amalgamation, especially.
I can assure you there were.
Yeah.
And just for those who want that, this weekend, we'll also be live streaming the Royal Oak Triples on Sunday, on Easter Sunday. It's their finals day. They've got a magnificent field assembled here at Royal Oak, and we'll be covering that through the Auckland Bowls and Royal Oak Facebook pages, I imagine. So we'll be bringing that event to you. And then we're also on the Bowls New Zealand Facebook page.
Did we get to charge Royal Oak for that piece of advertising? Did we? Oh, okay.
And then, of course, on the Bowls New Zealand Facebook page, we'll be bringing you from Nainai, the Bowls Three Fives finals, which is just played on the one day, is it, on the Sunday?
Yep.
It's
all done and dusted on the Sunday. 4 rounds, 3-round robin plus the finals.
So there you are. We're bringing all that action from Nainai live right throughout the day. So, yeah, look, Mark, thanks for your time. I think it's been very, very constructive, everything that we've discussed this morning. And please, to all the bowlers out there watching, if you have any questions, comments or whatever, have a listen to what we've got to say, and then contact Bowls New Zealand. And please, with the survey, make sure you respond to that survey when it goes.
Yeah, look out for the survey and look out for some of those centre visits as well. I'd welcome the opportunity to have a bit more face-to-face as well. Contact.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Kevin.